Hi, welcome to Numbering the Days channel. While everyone is busy with school graduations, grandchildren coming to visit them, and summer vacations starting, and just the general increase in activities, don't forget that Yahuwah has summoned you to a Kodesh Mikra, a holy convocation, and not just any gathering, but the biggest event of the year on the calendar that does not get the attention that it deserves, quite frankly. For most communities that celebrate the biblical feast, it's the Feast of Tabernacles and Passover unleavened bread that garner the most attention and effort. These are the other two Kodesh Mikros that you're required to travel to Jerusalem in Leviticus. And I just don't really want to say that. But I'll keep going. In my journey on the covenant calendar, I have gained a different perspective from tracking all the events of Scripture on the calendar, and I believe the Feast of Shavuot to be the most important. Why, you might ask? Well, if you are set free from bondage, but never enter the covenant and understand your Redeemer and Creator, well, you're likely to fall back into slavery. And if you never enter the covenant and understand it, then your journey through trumpets and atonement might end you up with a turn of events that land you not at tabernacles at all. So, welcome to week 11 and the biggest week of the year. You are going to see the overlapping of historical events unfold and hopefully have an understanding of why my perspective is what it is. The gathering of Yahuwah's people for celebrations in the middle of month 3 on the calendar starts with Noah, then Abraham, then Isaac and Jacob and Moses on the Exodus. It continues through time all the way down to Acts chapter 2 and the book of Revelation. All the events we will be listing today come from Scripture, and you will be provided all the references you need to study this out for yourself. Be sure to watch this week's Feast of Shavuot video, as it will be a very special one that gives the complete historical timeline with covenant details. Our Shavuot teaching has 5 parts and ventures far past traditional Messianic or Hebrew roots teaching on this feast. Consider this week 11 episode as the appetizer before the main meal. So enjoy it and let's get started.
Hello there, this is Joshua, your week 11 host for reading what's going on this week. And by the way, this is the busiest week of the year. So what do we got going on? It's the 71st day of the year, the 11th week, 4th day of the week. And counting the Omer, they're on day 46, and that's going to get done this week. In year 1 of the 40 days and 40 nights with Noah, he's in the middle of the 40 days of rain. And the next day, we've got Noah again, and then we've got year 1 in the Exodus. The Israelites arrive at Mount Sinai. The congregation is instructed to sanctify itself and prepare their garments. The year is calculated based upon Jubilees 45 and month day from Jubilees 1 verses 1 and 2. The exact day is calculated from Jubilees and comparing all texts to discern all the days in this month with Exodus also. This is a best effort from comparing texts, as is well taught that the day the commandments were spoken by Yahweh, his voice to the people, was on the 15th, the Feast of Shavuot. The next day, counting the Omer, almost done. Noah's still counting his rain, and Jacob crosses the river with Laban in pursuit. This entry comes from a story only told in Jubilees. The events surrounding Jacob and Laban and their parting are really different. Laban pursued and caught up to Jacob in Gilead, and Yahweh appeared to Laban in a dream and instructed him not to harm Jacob. The next day on the Sabbath, Day 49. Day 28 in the 40 days of rain with Noah. The next day is the Feast of Shavuot. The actual word is like, well, it's not a T, it's a TH. There's no two vowels here. And it's like, and there is no V. It's Shabbat. Both. Shabboth. Or, well, I think it's an I myself. Shabbith. But anyway, we're moving on. In year 2, Noah is offering the atonement sacrifice and enter the covenant. And be sure to understand that this covenant was meant for all mankind. People assemble to hear Yahweh speak and are afraid. In the Exodus, Yahweh speaks the commandments, and the people are afraid. They do not want to listen to his voice and ask Moses to be their mediator. Yahweh gives instructions to Moses. Noah celebrating the feast of Shavuot with his first batch of wine. Abram sees the promised land for the first time and receives the promise. He built an altar at Shechem and dwelt near a lofty oak. Yahweh appears to him and he offers a sacrifice on the altar. Abram returns to the promised land to affirm his relationship. Lot recently left. Sarah was returned to him by Pharaoh. He gives thanks to Yahweh, who appears to him to confirm that he will make his seed great and numerous. Abraham follows the instructions and does the sacrifice. Abram believes what he was told in the dream and now offers the sacrifice as instructed. In Hebrew culture, he has now done the Shema, where you obey Father's voice, Torah, and that is counted as righteousness. Study Hebrew understanding of believe. Abram receives a vision of future bondage to freedom of his seed. Abram is receiving a type and shadow vision of the future. Read carefully. The covenant made with Noah, renewed with Abram. In Jubilees 6, that was lost is renewed through Abram. It is made an ordinance forever. Abram celebrates first fruits, renamed, promises expanded to many nations. Ishmael is approximately 14 years old at this point. The covenant promises are expanded to include many nations. Abram receives the covenant and circumcision and is renamed at the same time. Abram is renamed Abraham and receives the covenant of circumcision for males on the 8th day. Much type and shadow in this section. Sarai is renamed. Covenant with her lineage affirmed. Yahweh affirms that it is through Sarah the promises will continue. Then Isaac is born. Sarah casts out the bondwoman, Hagar and Ishmael. Yahweh affirms Sarah's decision, and promises come through her. Hagar is told that Ishmael's seed will be a great nation. Isaac and Ishmael celebrate together with Jacob, Abraham, and Rebekah. If you read Jubilees chapter 22 for a different perspective, this is Abraham's last feast. Abraham blesses Jacob, and he died. Yahweh affirms instructions and promises to Isaac. There is nothing in either text to indicate the time of year, but this is placed here due to this feast period being the one for covenants, and Yahweh is true to his patterns. All the covenants are done on Shavuot. Yehuda is born in 2129. Jacob and Laban make a covenant, 2135. Jacob and Laban agree to not pass over the mountains with evil intent to harm one another. Jacob celebrated first fruits with old grain due to the drought. Jacob told to go to Egypt, and he leaves this day. Yahweh appeared to Jacob and instructed him to go down to Egypt. Jacob and sons departed that day. Year 1 in the Exodus, Moses reads the covenant, and Yashrael hears and agrees to the covenant. Moses builds an earthen altar as instructed, reads the covenant to the people, and sprinkles them with blood. The 70 elders have a covenant meal halfway up on the mountain. Note, this story is part of confusion that occurs trying to line up all the accounts and put them into an exact timeline. It is only here because of the covenant nature. I have not discerned the exact order of the multiple texts that tell stories about what happened when they first get to Sinai. Just what covenant is being read to them. Jubilees starts with telling Moses, "Come up to the mountain, and I will give you what I have written and want you to teach." Exodus has them agreeing to a covenant before Moses even goes up to get the tablets of stone. This is a very challenging section to reconcile texts. Joshua leads the people in a day of reciting blessings and cursings at the two mountains. Before this event, Yashrael has a big victory over the inhabitants and king of Ai. No text gives the exact dates, but based upon our research, we approximate this time frame. We are placing on the calendar on this feast since it has been the time covenants are renewed. Samuel calls for rain and thunder at the harvest against wicked people. The prophet Samuel called for rain and thunder to ruin the feast of Shavuot for the wicked people who rejected Yahweh as their king and desired a king like the nations. In the north, Tobit from the book of Tobit tries to keep the feast. Tobit celebrated this day and sought out brethren mindful of Yahweh to celebrate the feast, but ends up performing a good work of burying the dead and mourned. Zechariah's priestly service is completed and goes home. This is the first day Zechariah is off duty after being told by the angel Gabriel that he and Elizabeth will have a son, John. So John could be conceived this day. Messiah keeping the feast of Shavuot in Jerusalem. He heals a lame man while he is there and also teaches at the temple. Yeshua declares the fields are ready for harvest. This scripture occurs during the Feast of Shavuot. His mentioning the field being ready 4 months early is a reference to the Feast of Tabernacles, which is exactly 4 months in the future. Covenant renewed with early assembly. Apostles gathered together in Jerusalem and received power from heaven at 9 a.m. And Peter preached, and about 3,000 souls repented. Notice that a year earlier, Yeshua had declared the harvest on the same day in the beginning of his ministry. The day after Shavuot, there's day 30 of 40 days and nights for Noah. Moses is called up to the mountain by Yahweh. Moses called further up the mountain into the dark thick clouds and waits 7 days. He leaves everyone behind. And on the 17th of the 3rd month is day 31 of 40 days of nights of rain for Noah.
I hope you enjoyed this short calendar video this week. Please like this video. Please leave us a comment. Both the like and the comments really help YouTube to want to share our videos.